it was a old school. When I say old school, I mean like some of the games Kyle and the Niners have had at home in years past. Domination. I mean, they've won a lot of games like this in big games, like the Rams, the Packers. They've won some dominant games, and we picked them to win. I didn't think it was going to necessarily look like that on Monday night. What did you think watching as that game was unfolding in front of your eyes?
You know what hit me last night, or excuse me, actually this morning when I was really thinking about it, but it hit me last night, is that I am such a sucker for and will not apologize. And I when I say cracking skulls, I don't want anyone to get a concussion, but I like old school football. And the two good Niner coaches of the past, of the York era, they run different run plays, but at their core, they love to run the football. And really at their core, they love to shove it down your throat in a physical manner. And I'm a sucker for that football. It's my favorite type football. And as the sport becomes much more 7-on-7, I still like throwing the ball. But I have a soft spot for a buckle up. I can tell you at the line of scrimmage, hey, Harbaugh used to do this. We're going to run power right. Hey, we're going to snap the ball on one. It's coming. Get fucking ready. Kyle last night was basically, guys, I'm running toss every single play. By about the third or fourth snap, you know it's coming. We know it's coming. Let's see who can win. Like, I have a soft spot for that football, and I think this year, Kyle just got off kilter. That is who he is. Now, granted, he needs George Kittle because he runs the toss. It's basically one of his, Trent Williams and McGlinchey. McGlinchey's out now. They got like backup tackles in. But Kittle and Juice leading the hole for the running back to then just pick his lane and hit that hole as hard as humanly possible. And the collisions, that's as violent of a collision as you'll find in 2021, right? Because the collisions in the passing game don't exist. So I just thought Kyle got back to his roots of, and listen, it's not always going to work, but I'm going to shove this down your throat. And early on, everyone in the stadium's going to know it's coming. Both teams know it's coming. It becomes the best part about football. Like, we're just tougher than you, or are you going to be tougher than us? Someone's going to say uncle. And Harbaugh was like that, and I think Kyle, when he's had his success, that's how he plays.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this over the years as the game has changed, that there was once, the NFL it felt like it got to a point where only two teams were for a little bit. Only two teams were really playing that way at the same time, and that was Seattle and San Francisco. Now, that's not totally true, but that was definitely they were so good at the same time that it felt that way. And that, I think you and I have always said, that's our preferred style of football, because it normally keeps games from looking like Big 12 football games, which I think you and I have historically made fun of, like 48-46 where possessions don't matter.
I don't like it.
I don't like it unless it's like a major upset like Kansas, Texas. Then it's kind of fun.
They have their moments. Oklahoma and Texas this year.
I don't want to watch a national championship game that looks like that.
I'm with you. Monday night, remember years ago, Goff versus Mahomes was cool. I can do one-offs, but I think sometimes football becomes that.
Yeah. It was a return to who they are. It was a return to who they are. And I think part of that is, or at least who they've been before. And I think a big part of it is when they take the football away and play from ahead early, they can really play that way. And, the Stafford interception, I didn't think when Stafford threw the first pick, like, oh, this is the game. But I thought it was an immediate, a little pressure off, because the Niners have just not been able to make that play consistently. And then they score it, and then they get another takeaway, and Ward takes it pick six. And that's where they, on defense, just finally got, after Mosley, maybe you could argue should have had a pick. But to me, that's what some of their games have been missing, is those early moments where the defense takes it away and it immediately leads to something. Like, was it the Bears game where they were getting stops like crazy, but they weren't necessarily or the Packer game. Yeah. It wasn't translating to anything, right? It just felt to me like early in the game Monday, they just were able to take some of the weight off of their shoulders and play a little freer and do more, dictate the terms.
Well, the Harbaugh team's defense was even better than the 19 defense. I mean, they were. I was thinking last night, like, Fred Warner's had a bad season. I didn't quite lock into him early on and notice it, even as people were talking about it. The last couple games, I've watched him pretty closely. He is not playing well. 51 was our best linebacker last night. And look, one thing we've realized, and I'm a Fred Warner fan, maybe he's just going through a rough stretch. He is not Bowman or Willis, right? He's not on their tier. Even when he's great, he's not on those guys' level. So their defense, the best way to, especially with this team, and he's, Bosa's their best defender, and Fred's their second best defender in terms of talent, that it's not as good as it was. Well, the best way to play defense is keep them off the field, right? And just make them, when they do come, they can just lay it all on the line. And they controlled the clock last night. Like, the Rams didn't get that many possessions. At one point in time, the possession arrow, Harbaugh's teams used to play like this. Any good team that can really run the ball can play like this. They have the ball way more than you have the ball. So when you go 3 and out, you go, we just got the ball one time that quarter. What the fuck? And your defense can just play fresh. And I think too often when the Niners are playing bad, it's like when Kyle gets pass happy early in downs and Jimmy's not good enough to, like, when you have Rodgers, or Mahomes, you can throw it all 3 downs. Your percentage of hitting a first down is pretty high. Sometimes Jimmy can have first downs where you're like, he doesn't even hit a guy in the hands. Like, I'm even talking about when they jump. I mean, balls just fly all over the place. And then immediately you punt, and then that didn't happen last night. And that to me was refreshing to watch, of just, you control the ball, we're running it every single play, and you cannot stop it. You cannot stop it. And it is really an unstoppable play when you have fresh running backs, and they clearly, for whatever reason, Trey Sermon is just way down on the depth chart. They like Jeff Wilson a lot better than Trey Sermon, and you watch him last night, like, he runs his ass off.
They like Deebo Samuel more than Trey Sermon.
But Deebo Samuel's a better player than Trey Sermon.
Yes, but he's not a running back.
I know, but
as Manning said, the one thing about having Deebo back there, you probably can't audible, because then you're trusting a receiver to blitz pick up.
Yeah, you're stuck with him. Well, Peyton basically said, when I was playing quarterback, aka when I was my own offensive coordinator, we would never have called this shit because I can't control. Well, Jimmy ain't the OC, so Jimmy ain't in control. Elijah Mitchell's really good, and we were looking before we hopped on. He's a top 10 rusher right now in the league, and really, he didn't really get going until 2 games into the season, but he's a really, really good player, and you just ride him like Secretariat, right? You're right, though. I mean, the Deebo thing, it's hard because he's clearly one of your best players, but it's like, that's where you can get hurt. I'm just like playing running back.
I don't know. It's exactly the opposite of what I said I wanted to see out of Deebo Samuel this year. But
how about his touchdown play last night from the shotgun? It was sweet.
Well, it was, and I think, to me, the biggest thing that happened on Monday night they converted third downs out of their ass, and and fourth downs. Their third down conversion was 57%. Okay, they were 8 out of 14 in the game.
Well, it's way easier when you're 3rd and 3 and not 3rd and 9.
That too, but a lot of them were there were a lot of Jimmy throws on the the 3rd and 6 touchdown to Kittle was a very difficult play, like a play that can go the other way. It was a tough throw, and it was a really tough catch.
Probably his best pass of the year. I mean, given in the location, the DBs, he was like, they were both coming down on him. He had to put it high. It was a really good throw. It
was a great throw, but to me, that thing capped a 18-play drive, 17-play drive, 18-play drive. The drive after that was an 11-play drive. The field goal drive in the third quarter was a 10-play drive. The touchdown in the fourth was a 6-play drive. That was quick. But my point is, this is what we've talked about a lot with the Niners, and I was thinking this watching their first possession that came as a result of Stafford taking a deep shot. The Niners get the ball, then they just 18 plays, and it was the end of the quarter. You said Manning called it the fastest first quarter on Monday Night Football ever. Is they just
what? I mean, when you have a drive like that and you're rushing the ball, the clock goes. There's no stopping.
Clock's not stopping. Not a lot of penalty. I mean, there was an offsides penalty on the Rams, but the Niners have like what they did last night. It's still, I think, a very tight, a thin tightrope to walk, because it requires a lot of things to happen one after the other, for you to get the ball down the field, right? Michael on the stream says execution was elite last night. It was, but you saw like they just need thing after thing after thing after thing. 57% third down conversion would be number one in the NFL. This year they're 36%. So they were 20% better by percentage on third down. 2019, they were fifth in the NFL third down conversion, 44%. Their third down conversions on Monday night were off of the charts, like to a degree that you can't normally be. That's okay. They won the game by a margin, so you don't have to do that. But
you know, it's their best game of the season, but you don't have to, like, that's a complete game. Like, you get an A for that. And most, how many teams, even if you're a 12, 13 win team, you probably only play a couple A games. But to me, the philosophy of staying with the run, staying committed to the run, to me is what you have. Like, that is when the team is going to be most successful. Are you just going to have back-to-back drives against good teams like the Rams are, where you account for 19 plays? Probably not, right? That's not. But can you have a drive or two throughout the game where you play like this? Because when they've been their best, that's how they play, right? And they're somewhat of an outlier in the league. Because most teams, if you just watch football, if you just sit on your couch on Sunday, most football does not look like that, right?
Yeah, but I still think it was Garoppolo throwing the ball that allowed them to.
But he only had 19 attempts.
Well, I understand, but like I said, their margin and all. Think about the games they've played; they've been so close. The margin between winning and losing, the margin between winning and losing for the most part in their games have been razor thin.
Well, because when you can run the ball, it makes it easier on Jimmy. And when Jimmy had his most success, they had a great running season. Jimmy is not a quarterback, as we've seen. He cannot carry you. He cannot do it.
I totally agree. But what I'm saying is, I think they can run. I think they run the ball well enough to win. I think the games that Jimmy misses a couple of throws or they make a couple of mistakes, they lose. And the games where Jimmy doesn't make the mistakes and he makes a couple of those throws, they win. It's such a thin margin.
Jimmy had a couple, as the game went on, he could have thrown a couple picks to Jalen Ramsey. It's like, oh, there, Jimmy. Be careful,
got
buddy.
Hot on the sideline. I know, but that's the way the game. But that is what they do. Like, John, the margins with these games they play in. I know the score was so big, but that's them at their best. You just can't expect that every week. Like, they're not going to play like that every week.
100%. But to me, the philosophy of limit Jimmy Garoppolo's opportunities to fuck you. Right? To me, that's key. And he is what he is now. And that was his best game of the season. He only had to throw 19 times. To me, the number, obviously 19 is probably going to be pretty low. Can you keep that in the mid-20s? Like, can you just keep his attempts 25-ish and lower? You have a chance. When you got to throw 35, for the most part with Jimmy Garoppolo, you're going to lose. Or he potentially will put you in position to throw a pick six or get a fumble, create a fumble. Like, he can screw you. He was just a cog last night, and that's when he's at his best. It's one thing we've learned now of the Jimmy Garoppolo experience. He's a role player. And most teams that are good, their quarterback isn't a role player. He's the leader of the offense. That is not the Niners. They can't operate like that. Luckily, they have so much talent. Kittle is elite with the ball in his hands. Debo's becoming a star. Ayuk is really, really talented. Their running backs can catch. Juszczyk can catch. Like, Jimmy just has to play a role with those guys. And last night, to me, was his most accurate game because I think sometimes he feels he has to carry it. And I don't know, I'm not like a quarterback, Tom House here, but for whatever reason, he gets squirrely when he throws it more often. And he's more accurate when he throws it less.
Well, and when he throws it faster. When the less he holds the football. I mean, now one thing they did yesterday, right, was did you see the shotgun percentages, next gen stats? Garoppolo was in shotgun 89 and 93 dropbacks since week 8, 96% compared to 66 over the rest of his career. He finished with just one play action dropback in the game on Monday, a career low, and one dropback under center tied for a career low.
So just play him in the shotgun moving forward then.
Why not? I mean,
yeah.
Tom Brady likes it.
You do whatever you got to do to win. And to me, whatever Jimmy was doing before this game was a disaster. Like, it was you were going to lose, right? You're just going to lose. Or you needed your defense and special teams to make crazy plays for you to win. So if that's working, stick with that. What does Belichick do? I was listening to Doug Peterson with Russillo, and he was going into the Patriot Super Bowl. And Russillo was like, well, they had the worst defense, that year of all their good teams. And he's like, the hardest part about ever preparing for the Patriots is the previous game doesn't ever mean anything. because everything changed. They'll do whatever it takes to win that game.
They're a game plan team.
Do
which is
whatever it
wild.
takes for Jimmy to feel comfortable. And that means playing in the shotgun beside toss sweeps when he's, under center. And really, you can toss it. They have a toss play with him in shotgun, right? It's just a shorter toss. The guy kind of runs under him. But you can do variations of all the same plays, whether he's under shotgun or not. There is an element of the toss that is probably better under center, right? But if that's the only time Jimmy's under center, it'll be a dead giveaway.
Yeah, but they ran that play. They just so much misdirection sometimes. I mean, there was a lot of misdirection that they were able to run some weird plays out of shotgun, right?
Yeah.
Salem Love on YouTube says, I disagree with Guy. They've been doing these long drives all season. What the difference is what Middlecoff is saying. The running game with Jeff Wilson Jr., by the way, it makes life so much easier.
I like that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm saying that's different than what you're saying. I agree with you. I'm just saying, I think, well, I guess the difference might be.
My point is you got to get the attempts down. And the way to get the attempts down is to be really consistent with the run game, like overly stick to it when most people would say pass.
I couldn't agree more, but is last night when they're playing with the lead really the example of how easy it is for them to run the football?
No,
Like,
but my
they've
point
got
is that you have to just stick to it no matter what. Like, that's their philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but when you're playing from behind and the clock's working against you, like at some point you have to get the ball down the field if your defense doesn't give you a 14-0 lead.
Yeah, but my point is not like down 30-0. I'm saying like you're down
Well, of course.
17-7. You just stick with, and he's gotten away from it several times.
Here's
like
what I'll
I was
say.
coaching poorly.
I don't think that wins them games if Garoppolo can't deliver like he did last night. 3rd down, 3rd and 5, 4th and 6, some of those throws. Maybe that's what I agree with you. I don't think that in and of it. I still think the difference between winning and losing for them will be the run game can put them in position to win it. But Garoppolo's just going to have to be clean like he was last night.